Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm super excited to share my thoughts on an upcoming game that I've had the pleasure of playtesting during its alpha development, SUPERVIVE. Previously known as Project Loki, SUPERVIVE is a new take on Battle Royale from Theorycraft games that spices up the genre with some very cool concepts, and I'm thrilled to finally be able to share my thoughts and impressions. This video isn't sponsored in any way, but I do want to give a huge shout out to Theorycraft for inviting myself and so many others to participate in the alpha testing process. They've been a pleasure to engage with and deserve a ton of props for getting people involved early to break things and make SUPERVIVE the best game it can be. And not just content creators either. If you like what you see in this video, make sure to hit up Theorycraft's socials for ways to get involved and opportunities to check out SUPERVIVE for yourself. With that out of the way, let's get into what this game actually is, why I've been loving it so much, and most importantly, why I think you will too. In Theorycraft's own words, SUPERVIVE is a hero BR that blends ingredients from several different genres to deliver a meal that tastes like League meets Apex meets Smash. That might sound a little crazy, and trust me, it is. But SUPERVIVE is crazy in the same way that Apex was when it burst onto the BR scene in 2019. And as someone who spent plenty of time grinding Respawn's Battle Royale, what Theorycraft has been cooking up delivers the same feeling that blew everyone out of the water back then. It could be easy to mistake SUPERVIVE for a MOBA at first, and you can certainly feel some of that DNA in its design. The top-down perspective, character kits, farming creeps and defeating big monsters, to name just a few similarities. With several key devs coming over from a League of Legends background, it's no surprise that some similar philosophies have carried over too. But SUPERVIVE is much more than a MOBA and BR smushed together. Make no mistake, this is a battle royale. You'll drop in with your team, collect loot, fight enemies, and try to be the last one standing as the zone closes in. But beyond that core gameplay loop, Theorycraft has thrown in plenty of twists to spice up the genre in new and exciting ways. For starters, SUPERVIVE is, as described, a hero battle royale. And before jumping into each match, you'll select a character, known as a hunter, each of which comes with their own unique set of abilities and falls into one of three different classifications: Fighter, Protector, and Controller, which all bring different playstyles and strengths to the arena. Right from the start, SUPERVIVE's unique art style is on full display. From its menus and map to terrain and items, every inch of the game oozes with eye-popping style, and these visuals extend effortlessly into that cast of playable characters. There are so many cool and interesting designs, ranging from more exotic options like Oath, a tanky robot who wields an energy shield and hammer, to Felix, a flamethrower-toting fox-like creature. There are more conventional options too, like Ghost, who makes use of a standard assault rifle and grenade combo, but even these more traditional hunters have plenty of sweet tools to use, and that's barely scratching the surface. Whether you're playing as Jewel, an electrified menace who zips around dishing out lightning attacks, or Aluna, who can pop in and out of combat to heal teammates or even spirit them away while reviving on the run, each suite of abilities fits perfectly with their character's design and are easily digestible in the thick of combat, once you know what to look for. One of the strongest aspects of SUPERVIVE's design are these hunter kits, each of which offers a wholly unique and enjoyable playstyle that can all be incredibly powerful in the right hands. From fighters like Kingpin and Shrike, to protectors like Oath, and even controllers like Celeste, each hunter brings something unique to the table, offering plenty of options to try out while you find a playstyle to vibe with. Even if you absolutely suck with certain characters, like me with a lot of them if I'm being honest, Theorycraft has succeeded in potentially the most important area of all: making each hunter fun to play. Beyond that, you don't even need a meta team comp to find success. I've been the victim of and participated in successful squads featuring a mix of classes and hunters. The balance between characters is also excellent, and while someone like the sword-wielding Brawl and stretchy hand Kingpin are both intended to excel in close quarters combat, the way they go about their job and the tools at their disposal are completely different, and allow for impactful plays and contributions, regardless of preferred playstyle. Sure, popping off and wiping an entire enemy team might provide a flashy highlight, but I've seen skilled tanks absolutely save their squad from certain death, or a shifty support player zip their buddies away from what would have been a certified win for the enemy. So far, I've gravitated more towards fighters, as I find it easier to just point and click on enemies rather than taking on a tank or support role, but I've made a point to try out the other classes too, and they've all been fun, engaging, and powerful in their own ways. Once everyone has locked in their hunter selections, the designated jumpmaster can either pawn their responsibilities off on someone else, or pick where to drop, and you'll soon be sent hurtling into the action. SUPERVIVE's map is superb, and stands out as an excellent first stab by Theorycraft at creating a BR gameplay space that works well, which isn't an easy feat. Its locations are varied, ranging from windswept deserts and frozen tundras to watery swamps and industrial factories, all of which feature their own selection of terrain and different creeps to contend with. That terrain also plays an important role in SUPERVIVE's gameplay, and beyond basic effects like lava dealing damage, utilizing these environments to your advantage can play a huge part in outmaneuvering and taking down an enemy team. Catching opponents while they're slowed or taking cover in the brush for an ambush can be devastating. And on the flip side, utilizing the map's airways and tornado twisters for a quick getaway can be key in escaping those very same attempts. There are also plenty of hazards to contend with, from crumbling ice to energy beams and even a fast-moving train that zips around the map. It can be well worth your time to hop on and grab some loot as it goes by. Just be careful not to get caught on the tracks, or you'll end up waiting for a revive instead. Something to consider when choosing a landing zone and your next move throughout each match are base camp locations. These serve as regroup points and areas of control, which after being secured, will notify you when an enemy team enters that part of the map. In addition, these camps allow you to repair your armor, which breaks down gradually as you take damage, along with passively healing HP, and finally, cooking Vive Beans, the game's primary healing item, and where SUPERVIVE gets its namesake. Recalling back to a captured base camp also offers a quick means of escape, but you can only control one camp at a time, and if an enemy team captures it, no recalls for you, so keep an ear out for anyone encroaching on your territory. In typical BR fashion, you'll want to remain aware of the storm's movement as it closes in around you. While not as brutally punishing as some contemporaries, SUPERVIVE Zone can still do some serious damage, and prevents healing while caught in it, so if you drop in a bad spot or get stuck too far outside, good luck. Each match can also feature a storm shift, slight modifiers to keep things fresh and encourage different strategies. These range from unlimited fuel for traversal, to intermittent radar pings revealing other teams on the map, and even bombing runs that can wipe you out if caught unawares. A fun way to spice things up without impacting that core gameplay loop or the map itself too noticeably. SUPERVIVE's first gameplay space feels like a perfect combination of locations spread out enough to provide an initial buffer, but not so far away they can't be reached quickly if needed. There are plenty of areas separated by dead air, and these can only be traversed using movement abilities or your floating glider, which everyone has access to regardless of their class or character. These fun little machines help you quickly zip around the map and cross those chasms, but be cautious while doing so, especially around an enemy team, lest you fall victim to a good spiking. In SUPERVIVE, if you take damage from an enemy player while gliding, you'll either be stunned and stuck in place, or if you're caught over some of that dead air, get spiked, and promptly plummet to your death. This has occurred less frequently as I've spent time practicing my movement, but it's not uncommon to still get spiked, or dish out a good spiking yourself, and catching an enemy or two mid-flight can be absolutely devastating. Despite that vulnerability when flying, there are still plenty of other ways to close gaps with opponents and engage in traversal, thanks to the many different movement kits available for each hunter. Combining abilities like dashes, jumps, and teleports with your glider is a key skill to pick up on, and adept movement can really save the day if another team catches you in a bad spot. The biggest pitfall to all of this movement is chasing down fleeing enemies, which can seem like an impossible task as they zoom away, always one step ahead of the chase. While annoying at times, this design reinforces the idea that a skilled player can almost always find a way to escape and bring their team back from the dead, and those clutch last man standing moments more than make up for any mild frustration when hunting down an elusive enemy. As you move across the map, looting up and preparing to fight, more of SUPERVIVE's unique components come into play. Theorycraft certainly aren't the first to add AI combatants to their battle royale, but this implementation is arguably one of the best in the genre. BRs like Warzone, Apex, and Fortnite have all tried implementing similar systems, but SUPERVIVE's take goes even further. Fighting creeps is one of the most important things you'll do, because outside of taking down opposing players, defeating AI is the main way to level up throughout each match, which is key to finding success. Defeating enemies gradually unlocks more hunter abilities and allows you to improve them, ensuring a wide range of tools, and more powerful variations, are available while fighting deeper into each game. Leveling up on pace with the opposition, or outpacing them if you can swing it, is one of the key factors that determine success or failure in SUPERVIVE, and a team with juiced up abilities can often outfight opponents equipped with better gear. Some people might turn their nose up at the idea of fighting creeps all match long, but honestly, dishing out damage and using your abilities feels so damn good in SUPERVIVE's moment-to-moment gameplay that each new creep cluster just feels like a welcome opportunity to enjoy more of this combat sandbox. There are also bigger enemy bosses that provide more of a challenge and dish out even better rewards for defeating them, including high-level gear and persistent bonuses that last the remainder of that match. These encounters are time-consuming and require mastery of unique mechanics. If another team springs an ambush during one of these big boss fights, you can quickly find yourselves at a serious and often fatal disadvantage. There are plenty of items in SUPERVIVE, including gear that boosts your stats, resources to upgrade that gear, and even special passive buffs or deployables that can turn the tide of a battle when used properly. The sheer number of items out there can honestly be a bit overwhelming, and you'll probably gobble up every drop you see during your first few games. Trust me, even after quite a few sessions, I still find myself doing the exact same thing sometimes. Thankfully, one of Theorycraft's awesome streamlining features is a smart loot option, which quickly scoops up important pickups like better armor and healing items, getting you back into the action without wasting time scrolling through a death box. Although you're welcome to do things the old-fashioned way, if you prefer. There are 2 gear slots which can be fitted with different items to boost your stats, along with armor of scaling rarity, and 2 static items, your boots and backpack, that increase speed and inventory slots when upgraded. Many of these items drop from creeps and bosses, but you can also upgrade each piece of gear over time with power shards, obtained by defeating enemy players, and there are even more ways to acquire powerful gear throughout the early, mid, and late game stages of each match. Certain parts of the map feature a high volume of lootable containers, which often contain a smattering of early game gear, but can also drop powerful pickups or armor if you're lucky. There are also locations featuring high value loot that rotate each match. If your team thinks they're capable of duking it out with other players drawn to these contested spots, the spoils provided for the victors can often change the course of a game. And, after those opening moments, there are still other ways to acquire valuable gear later in the game, like vaults, shops, and armor drops. Shops are where you spend money acquired while exploring and fighting on consumables and gear, while armor drops appear later in the game and provide higher tier green, blue, and even yellow varieties that easily surpass your starting white armor. Obtaining and maintaining higher tier armor is crucial to your success in SUPERVIVE, and ending up stuck in the late game without upgraded protection is a huge disadvantage. Vaults are sealed locations across the map that can be broken into using sheer firepower, or by completing a quick little minigame, which is always the better option if you can swing it. Each vault contains a randomized selection of consumables, gear, and armor, and these are almost always worth cracking open, although you'll need to be on the lookout for cheeky teams looking to swoop in when you're exposed. There are other interactable locations as well, like doors that can open new areas, portals for quick transport, and even UAVs that reveal the last known location of enemy teams. And these tools can turn the tide of a hectic engagement if utilized properly. SUPERVIVE's team battles are where your skills will really be put to the test. The moments where its secret sauce truly shines through, and what fully sold me on Theorycraft's vision for this new style of Battle Royale. The game's unique blend of genres and mechanics comes together perfectly while facing off against enemy teams, whether you're battling it out right off a drop or during a late game finale. A wicked flurry of abilities, movement, and dueling hunters combines to create a flashy spectacle that's certainly eye-catching, but also digestible, for the most part at least. It might be my inexperience with this style of gameplay, but there's a lot happening on screen during these fights, and I did struggle to keep track of all the craziness at times, with some visual indicators being a bit hard to track, at least when I was starting out. This did get better over time, and to their credit, Theorycraft has incorporated a slew of tooltips that help identify ability activations, cooldowns, damage dealt and taken, and status effects like getting stunned, which is super annoying and powerful, depending on whether you're on the giving or receiving end. The climax of every BR are those final endgame clashes, and SUPERVIVE delivers some of the most heart-pounding, adrenaline-inducing finishes I've experienced in quite some time. That combination of leveling, gear, and character abilities all coalesce to deliver some incredibly frenetic, high-tension fights, with each group of players activating their deployables, engaging their abilities, and attempting to outduel and outmaneuver the enemy. This creates some truly memorable moments, and even if you don't come out on top, you immediately want to queue back up and give things another go. Thankfully, SUPERVIVE offers a variety of game modes, including 4-player squads and 2-player duos for BR, along with a team deathmatch-style arena mode. After a couple games of arena, I decided it wasn't really for me. It's a good option for some quick action or a little warm-up, but SUPERVIVE's BR modes are where the game really shines, and I spent the vast majority of my time there. Between squads and duos, I gravitated more towards the latter for one simple reason: speed. Duos seem to offer consistently more enjoyable team fights due to the simple fact that in squads, these clashes seem to take just a little too long to wrap up at times. Don't get me wrong, I'm by no means saying squads isn't enjoyable, because it is. The larger team size allows for those character kits and synergies to really shine through, and endgame showdowns when 2, 3, or even more full-strength teams are duking it out are incredibly fun. But for me, duos offered an experience that was more digestible, with less on-screen action and a better pace of play. Sure, there's a bit more downtime between fights, but when you do engage an enemy team, the encounters were more concise and less drawn out than many of my engagements during squads. Theorycraft's intentions are to maintain a quick TTK, with an emphasis on short, decisive battles, and that rings true in many cases, but the even quicker pace of those duo matches really sucked me in. Admittedly, as time went on and more updates were rolled out, this problem seemed to noticeably improve, and I found myself enjoying squad battles even more in later playtests, despite my heart truly being held by that 2 versus 2 action. One of my biggest gripes with battle royales is that they often take up too much time. Queuing for a game, loading in, selecting your character, dropping, and then immediately dying, or spending the next 15 minutes running around, collecting loot, and then dying, often doesn't seem appealing when I could play something else that's quicker instead. Fortunately, another awesome thing about SUPERVIVE is that no matter how down your team might be, you can never count yourselves out, and there are a plethora of ways to get back into the fight, even in the most dire of circumstances. Some are more mundane, like picking up teammates who've been knocked by standing on their wisp, fun little avatars that appear after a player is downed, and allow you to slowly crawl, bounce, or slide your way back to your team if the enemy doesn't get to you first. You can also revive fallen allies at their death box, but even as the last player standing with an enemy team camping on top of your buddies, there are still ways to get them back into the fight. Most obvious are respawn beacons, which will bring back all downed teammates at that location once secured. But these totems emit a loud siren during the respawn process, and will also ping for enemies on their minimap, making you a prime target for easy farming if you aren't careful. Beyond that, you can also pick up most wanted contracts, which put a huge target on your back while a timer counts down. If you can evade your opponents long enough to run out the clock, your whole team will be brought back, providing a risky play with a big payoff, even if there aren't any beacons available. The bottom line is that you should never count yourself out in SUPERVIVE, because it's entirely possible to come back from situations that seem completely hopeless, and this is one of the things about the game I love the most. Another impressive feat, are you sensing a theme here yet, is just how polished and feature-complete SUPERVIVE is for a title still waiting on full release. Sure, there are placeholders and things that are obviously missing or waiting on their final form, but what is there has been masterfully implemented. Those core gameplay features, movement, abilities, hit reg, server performance, map design, loot, the whole 9 yards, all feel excellent already, or at least to the point where a few minor tweaks will get them over the finish line, and I was constantly impressed by just how well the game functioned for the early state it's in. When a title is this good already, the sky's the limit, and it's clear that Theorycraft knows exactly where they want to take SUPERVIVE and are executing that vision masterfully. The first time I saw SUPERVIVE in action, all I could think was, holy shit, there's a lot going on. And there is, but the game not only does a great job of onboarding new players, but making all that craziness digestible from hour 1 through hour 10 and beyond. Coming into my first playtest, I was super intimidated. As someone who's played maybe 5 games of League in my entire life, I fully expected to get stomped like the clueless noob I was. To be fair, I did go through my fair share of stomps in those early hours, but I was also left extremely impressed by just how easy the game was to pick up, even for a noob like me, and Theorycraft has done a lot of work to help players of all backgrounds and skill levels get acclimated quickly. From intro videos and tooltips, to a practice arena where you can test out each hunter and their abilities, perfect your movement, and mess around with different gear, you have all the time in the world and tools at your disposal to ease into SUPERVIVE at your own pace, or take a break if things aren't going your way to practice some more. There are also great onboarding tools, like an in-game overview that outlines important concepts, along with a series of suggestions and missions that help you learn the ropes, at least a little bit, before diving into the action. Along with in-game voice chat, SUPERVIVE also features a ping system for non-verbal communication, allowing you to call out danger, highlight important items and locations, or guide your team towards their next objective. I'm not one to shy away from game chat, especially when going hard in a PvP title like SUPERVIVE, but it's awesome that Theorycraft has provided that additional avenue for coordinating with your teammates, as not everyone feels comfortable or is even able to engage with those vocal systems. Throughout my time with SUPERVIVE, I'd like to think I've improved at least a little bit, but a lot of the time, I still suck. That being said, no matter how much I might be getting on, the game is so much fun that it keeps me coming back for more, constantly queuing into my next match whether I won the last one or got smoked right off drop. For players without much interest or experience with MOBA-style games, SUPERVIVE might seem like an easy skip, if you assume it's just a battle royale with a League of Legends or Dota skin slapped on top. But it's so much more than that, and Theorycraft has done an amazing job of helping new players acclimate to this experience, whether you spent hundreds of hours grinding League and Apex, or if games like this aren't your typical style. SUPERVIVE grabbed my attention from the first time I saw it, but I was also pretty terrified heading in, worried that I'd be bulldozed by better players without being able to pick up any of those newfangled tricks and gameplay systems. The reality is, nothing could be further from the truth, and those learning materials combined with an incredibly intuitive UI and easy to learn but hard to master gameplay all help you get up to speed without spending dozens of hours getting stomped on your way there. Beyond SUPERVIVE's gameplay, there are several secondary systems to engage with, just as you'd expect in a game of this nature. There's your typical battle pass, called the Hunter's Journey, where you'll unlock new characters, cosmetics, and all of the typical items you'd expect from this type of progression track. There's a whole slew of those cosmetics available, allowing you to customize everything from your profile picture and title, and there are some truly hilarious combinations to choose from, to the look of your hunter, wisp, and glider, along with different emotes and sprays to collect. The Hunter's Journey contains a solid smattering of these cosmetics, and they can also be purchased from the in-game store, which is where SUPERVIVE looks to focus its efforts on bringing in money to help support the studio. One of the biggest caveats with any new game these days is how it will be monetized, and how each developer handles that prickly subject is anyone's guess. Obviously, SUPERVIVE needs to make money somehow, and like many of its contemporaries, selling in-game cosmetics is the primary means of doing so. How those items will be priced remains to be seen, but from listening to the Theorycraft team discuss their plans for the game, I'm more optimistic than in most cases these days, and this ties perfectly into the last topic I want to discuss: why the team behind SUPERVIVE has me so excited for its future. When I first stumbled across SUPERVIVE, I was immediately intrigued. My love of battle royales, Apex in particular, had died out long ago, but what Theorycraft was cooking seemed fresh and novel, with the potential to revitalize my passion for a part of gaming that had grown stale and uninteresting over time. After only a short time listening to Theorycraft talk about SUPERVIVE, and seeing other players share their passion for it too, I was immediately struck by the type of community springing up around the game, and this is in no small part thanks to how Theorycraft has approached development from day one. It's clear that the studio values player feedback immensely, from both established content creators with large communities, all the way down to individual testers who've taken time to play the game. Each playtest I participated in was filled with surveys and questions from Theorycraft. What do you like, and what doesn't sit right with you? How can we make the game better? Every aspect, from character design to cosmetics to gameplay, was questioned again and again, with constant feedback being solicited from the community at large. It also became clear very early on that Theorycraft actually listens to the feedback players provide. Shocking, right? Each time I boot up the game, a slew of changes had been added, and these weren't just tiny little buffs or nerfs either. From systemic reworks to entire core systems like movement, or the whole look of the game's UI being overhauled in a couple of weeks, Theorycraft was constantly updating, changing, and molding their product, not only to fulfill their own vision, but to address player concerns as well. And when they made a change people didn't vibe with, they took that feedback to heart too. This was another constant during my time spent testing. New changes, both small tweaks and bigger reworks, constantly being added, along with a healthy exchange of feedback both to and from the studio. As you've been watching the video, you've no doubt noticed that many aspects of the game have changed from test to test. And this is a testament to the incredible speed with which Theorycraft updates their game. A good sign for anyone well-versed in ongoing PvP experiences, which can easily grow stale and unenjoyable if bad things are left to fester too long. It's also clear that Theorycraft's approach to SUPERVIVE's development has cultivated a community that's equally excellent, and I've yet to encounter a single toxic player in my now double-digit hours of playtime. There are already people honing their casting skills, talking about setting up tournament circuits, and constantly offering to explain different concepts or even hop in with newcomers to help them get adjusted. It's abundantly clear that Theorycraft has fostered a community that's also helping to shape the game. As this video goes live, there will be a ton of other creators putting out content, including character guides, tips and tricks, and so much more. So, if SUPERVIVE interests you in the slightest, which it should, you should absolutely check out some of those videos, and regardless of your skill level, there will be a little something out there for everyone. SUPERVIVE can come across as intimidating at first. It sure as hell did for me. But after my very first session in 2 hours of game time, it felt like I had started to pick things up already. And that feeling kept me coming back for more, time and time again. Everyone sucks when they try a new game for the first time. But when you find yourself enjoying something in spite of being bad at it, that's a great sign. And right from the start, that feeling was there with SUPERVIVE. As I've spent more time with the game, my improvement has been markedly noticeable. Sure, I still get wrecked sometimes, but more often than not, my team is the one doing the wrecking, and I'm actually contributing to their success. Before I got involved with SUPERVIVE, BRs might as well have not existed in my gaming world anymore. Gone were the days of grinding ranked in Apex each split, staying up way too late playing just for fun, and dedicating time to grinding out each new battle pass. Not because I felt an obligation, but because the game itself was that damn fun. SUPERVIVE is the first BR since Apex to give me that feeling again. Staying up way later than I should to get in one last game, which quickly turns into staying up way later than I should and getting in about a dozen more. Heading into my first playtest, I was almost certain that I'd get my shit rocked and bounce off SUPERVIVE immediately. And to be fair, I almost did. My second play session was just miserable. I got my ass kicked all night long, constantly struggled, and felt like a total liability. I was discouraged and wondered if maybe this game wasn't for me after all. But I told myself to give it one more chance, and man am I glad that I did. That following night, I got my very first win, and watching that victory screen pop up gave me the same jolt of adrenaline I felt winning my first game of Apex, and after that, I was completely hooked. Those same Battle Royale bones are still there. Drop in, loot up, and fight your way to victory. But SUPERVIVE is a take on this genre unlike anything else out there. And most importantly, it's made by a studio whose passion, care, and dedication to delivering an awesome product has never been in question. And that alone makes me feel confident recommending SUPERVIVE to anyone out there, BR vet or total newbie. Theorycraft really seems to have something special on their hands. And with a team made up of so many different backgrounds and disciplines, it's no wonder they've been able to craft something wholly unique to the space. I've only been a part of this game and its community for a short time, but it's already got me hooked. And I feel confident that if you give it a try, you'll find yourself feeling the exact same way in no time. Make sure to check out Theorycraft's website and socials for more info on how you can get involved, and I hope to see you out there soon. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more gaming content, and let me know your thoughts on SUPERVIVE in the comments below. You're a real one and I appreciate you. Catch you later, homies.